This is a Topcon 2G, and it's having an issue with a delayed slit adjustment, whereas when it closes slowly, everything corresponds correctly to the turning of the knob and the slits. But if you turn it quickly from full to 0, there's a delayed response. Here it is. I'm open full, and I'm going to turn it to 0 quickly, and you can watch how the slits are delayed in closing. So it's not the axle grease, because if it were the axle grease, then it would just be drifting. You could turn it and it would drift, and the whole axle would continue turning. This is more of where the axle, where the shaft is holding steady, the pressure and the tension is correct, but something is not right in the movement. And it could either be there's what's called a pole in here that slides up and down according to the cam in the shaft as it moves. That could be gummy and need cleaning and relubing. Or there's a slider in here in the slit assembly that it could be gummed up too. So I don't know which one it is, but we'll take it off and see if we can figure out what it is. Screws here, and you might want to look through your binoculars to see if everything is centered, because once you take these two screws out, then it will have to be centered again. Your alignment will have to be centered, and that would just be a matter of twisting this top to align it again, and then tighten the screws. And when you lift it up, you want to turn it to where this screw is showing on the right side. Then you can lift it up. See, right now it's at 90, but we want to turn it to 0 so that this screw is showing on this side. Then we can lift it up. That's the screw. So what's happening, again, we can see it a little clearer, is as we move to 0, it goes down slow. It's just a gradual, instead of responding. And this is the pole, and I can feel it. It feels pretty gummy. It should move up fairly easily and down, but it's fairly fairly gummy, so this is probably the issue. We'll clean that. But this is a slider that this fits on, and it seems to be moving quite well. So this is probably the issue. We're going to clean it with some fuel and then just put a light coating of, I'm going to use a number 17 grease, a thin grease on that. Got some fuel, cleaning this. And then I'm cleaning the inside of the wall where it's going to be traveling. Now I don't have any lube on it yet, but I'm just going to see how it's going to fall. See, it's more responsive now. So I'm going to put a very light film of a very thin grease on this. It's called a pole. Okay, it's much more responsive now. Doesn't fall down by gravity because the little grease is keeping that from. I'm just going to put a little bit in here. And then I'm going to wipe it out. I'm going to wipe out this cavity with a clean cotton swab. And even though I'm cleaning it, it's going to leave a light film on there. And even here, I've put grease on here, but I'm going to wipe it off. But I'm actually leaving a small film on it. We're going to put that in. And okay, now when we put it back together, we're going to put it underneath the slider. Here's our slider. We're going to put it underneath it. And now we can kind of test. We're going to do a little test. Okay, it moves very, very, very well. Very good. Yeah, we're going to put our top back on. Make sure the screw is to the right so we can fall into place here. We're going to put it back on. Turn it. Put our screws back in. I'm not going to tighten them all the way. I'm going to leave them a little bit loose so that I can turn it, and this will help me to align it when I'm once again looking through my binocular head at my largest diaphragm circle to recenter it like it was at the beginning. But for our purposes, we're just going to see if we corrected the delayed response. So we'll turn power back on. We'll open it up to full. and we'll check it. It's very responsive now, and it's not a delayed response. So I think we corrected the issue. So make sure you've got it realigned by looking through your binoculars with your focus rod. Make sure it's still centered. Tighten up your screws.